It's an interesting place that the Israelites found themselves in. And the condition of the Israelites is quite unique because they were still, here they were in the midst of their promise. God had given them victory after victory. God had proven His generosity and His ability to deliver them through knocking down the walls of Jericho and defeating every army that they faced. But yet, what's so unique to me is even here, they still are holding on to other gods. They're still serving other gods. And I look at the condition of their life and the condition of that nation in that moment is they truly believed that God was able. They were convinced that there was a God. And they were convinced that they were the people of God. But for some reason, there were things they were still holding on to that were very near and dear to their heart. What we don't realize is that those children that walked into the promised land, their parents who died in the wilderness, I want you to just picture this for a moment. I want you to imagine little Bobby comes up and his father is on his deathbed and comes to his father's side. And as they're sitting there waiting for his father to pass away, and all of a sudden his father says, "Son, I want you to go to that cabinet there. And I want you to reach into that cabinet and I want you to grab that figure that's there in that cabinet." And so he goes and little Bobby grabs that little figure in the cabinet and he comes to his father. He says, "Yes, Father, what is it?" And he puts that figurine in Bobby's hand and puts his hand over Bobby's hand. He says, "Bobby, I want you to take good care of this because this is the God of our ancestors." So even though Bobby believes in God, there's a tradition, there's an ideology, there's a theology that he holds dear to his heart because it's passed on to him from his father and his fathers and his fathers. And so even though God has something new for Bobby, Bobby still has things that he's holding on to from the old. And we find ourselves so often in promise, just like the children of Israel. But the problem is this: even though our position is right, our condition is wrong. I say, God, how is it that so often in my life I can be smack dab in the middle of your promise, the right place, the right time, but I always miss it because I got the wrong heart? And I don't know about you, but I get so frustrated. Anybody with me? Anybody here, you're with me on this? I get so frustrated because I'm like, God, why? How often am I going to miss this? How many more times do I got to go around the mountain? And you know the worst part about it is that the worst enemy that was residing in the promised land, just hear me for a second. The greatest enemy that was residing in the promised land wasn't the Amorites, wasn't the Philistines. It was hiding in their cabinets. Their greatest enemy was in their heart. Their greatest enemy was there as they would wake up early in the morning to worship two gods. They would worship God. They would worship the God of Moses. They would worship the God of Abraham because that God brought them through some tough times. But for some reason, there was still this God that their heart was attached to, that they would worship. This was the condition and the heart of the children of Israel in the midst of their promise and their victory.